Hello, welcome back to another trombone lesson. Today we're going to talk about intonation and a couple exercises that can help you work on it and to improve it. So before we get into the exercises, we're going to talk a little bit about intonation. So what is intonation? Intonation simply means playing in tune. It's really important on the trombone because we use the slide that we're always aware and that we're always trying to play as in tune as possible. We're always trying to make adjustments, we're always listening, keeping an ear out for how can we play more in tune and play in tune with the context that we're playing with the other people. So when we say playing in tune, there's two ways that you can play in tune. There's harmonic intonation and melodic intonation. Harmonic intonation is playing in tune with reference to other notes that are going on at the same time. Like in a chord, for example. If you're playing in a section, I want to always listen to the other notes the people in the section are playing. Okay, is my note a particular note of the chord that I need to adjust? Am I playing in tune with the other trombones? With the band in general? Maybe the bass, maybe the piano. Whoever else I'm playing with, I want to make sure that I'm listening and that I'm playing in tune harmonically with them. And then you also have melodic intonation, which is playing in tune with yourself. Can I play a line, a scale, an etude, a melody? Can I play that in tune with myself so that my intervals are in tune and that it comes across in the way that I want to in regards of intonation? And then kind of going off of that, you have the two kind of main tuning systems or temperaments that we use today. So we're going to quickly go over those. If you want to go deeper into those, there are tons of very informative videos already on YouTube that go deeper into the temperaments, but we're just going to have a quick overview of those right now. So the two main temperaments that you're going to encounter are just temperament and equal temperament. So back in the day, they would have keyboards and instruments tuned in what's called just intonation. There were other temperaments, but for the main purpose of this video, we're just going to talk about just intonation. So just intonation is where you make certain adjustments based on the key to make the chords more in tune. It's a natural frequency response that's perfect ratios that just makes it more in tune. So basically what you need to know is that in the past, they had keyboards tuned in certain keys that made it better to play in certain keys and a little more difficult to play in other keys. Today we use what's called equal temperament, which is where all 12 notes are equally spaced apart. This comes at a greater consistency of being able to change keys and to play in any key and have it sound pretty much the same. It comes with a lot of benefits at the cost of some of that intonation. Now, in most music it's not completely noticeable, but if you're really getting into intonation and you want to practice it, then you want to be aware of the difference between equal temperament and just intonation. And I'm going to give you an example of that now. Alright, so here we are on Tonal Energy, and you can see in the top left corner, you can see the temperament button says equal, and if I push it, then it'll say just, and if I hold the button, then you can see this menu comes up that you can change the key or change the temperament this way. Maybe if you tap the button by default, then this menu will come up. But that's how you change the temperament to just. So we're going to build a B flat chord here, and then I'm going to show you the difference between equal and just on a major chord. So here we go. So here it is in equal. It doesn't sound too bad, but then when we go to just, we can hear that everything kind of locks in and it feels a lot more settled. And then if we go back to equal, oh, it feels a little more unstable. Maybe you can hear a little bit of wobble that we want to get out when we're trying to play in tune. The first exercise we're going to talk about is one that you're probably already doing in your daily warm-up routine. But it's just kind of applying this idea of intonation and giving you some more things to think about so that you can do it in a deeper and more aware way of what's going on. This exercise, of course, is long tones. So we're going to kind of talk about kind of the standard Remington long tone routine exercise, some ideas that you can use to work on intonation for this exercise. When you're practicing the Remington long tones exercise, it's very helpful if you play with the drone. Now, you might be wondering a little bit of what exactly it means when you play with the drone, and so we're going to talk a little bit about some ways that you can apply the drone and that you can work with the drone on the long tones. The first way is you just have a static drone on one note. So for example, if you're playing the Remington exercise starting on B flat, where most of us do, you can put the drone on B flat and then have that low B flat drone, and then you can play the exercise always coming back to that B flat, making sure that each and every note is in tune. And then that really helps to get your ear sensitive to each note of the chromatic scale, and so you can learn to hear what notes are more resonant, what notes are a little more dissonant, and that you can work on making all of those in tune. When you're working with a static drone, I would recommend also having a tuner on the stand, ideally one that you can set to adjust intonation setting for the drone that you're working on. So for example, if we're still in B flat with the B flat drone, I would set my tuner to be in just intonation in B flat. So then it would be truly in tune with the B flat drone, and that you can make those adjustments for each key that you practice this with. So the other way that I recommend practicing long tones with the drone is having a drone that changes notes so that you're playing in unison with the drone. This helps you to kind of notice, okay, where each note is naturally on your instrument. There are a couple easy ways that you can find to have the drone match the note that you're playing. If you have access to a piano, ideally an in-tune piano, you can use that as a reference so that you can listen to the piano. You can also just use any sort of drone source that you have. It could be something on your phone. I recommend using headphones if you're going to be practicing with the drone from your phone or laptop or computer. Tonal Energy has this feature that I think is very useful. You click this button and then it'll play whatever note that you're playing. So it'll kind of follow you through your long tone exercise, and then it'll play, and that you can use that to match the pitch. When you're practicing intonation, I think it's also very useful to practice your scales with the drone. You can practice your scales with the fixed drone, just like how we talked about playing the Remington exercise, and you can play the scale really slow and really listen to each note and see how that feels against the drone, and again, have your tuner on the stand, put it in just intonation so that you can really listen for each interval. Another way of practicing scales with the drone or with the tuner are you play the scale a little bit faster, maybe in eighth notes, maybe at a little higher tempo, and that you pick a certain note from the scale and that you hold it out every time that you get to that note when you're playing the scale. And then you can kind of see your tendency, okay, if I'm approaching it from below or coming down from above, I find that generally notes might have a different tendency of being sharp or flat. And so that's very useful to get kind of more real world data of how your intonation is for each note. For example, I might play a scale in B flat, and then I'll pick E flat, the fourth note, and that I'll play the scale up to E flat, and then I'll hold out the E flat, and then I'll continue on up to B flat, I'll come back down, and then I'll hold the E flat again on the way down, and then I'll continue on down to the B flat. The last way we're going to talk about practicing intonation today is by playing simple melodies. I recommend learning simple tunes by ear, playing them maybe in a couple different keys, playing with a drone. Think about using your best sound all the time when you're playing them, and think about playing as in tune as possible on all of the tunes. It's such a great way of kind of applying the idea that we're talking about today to actual music. I'm a big proponent of not just playing long tones and scales just to play long tones and scales. I want to apply them to music. I want to be in tune when I'm playing actual music, not just on exercises in the practice room. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found today's lesson informative. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and then leave a comment below telling me what lesson topic I should cover next.